Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Wonderful. Okay, my name's Callum Ringer. I'm in the environment team at the West Midlands Combined Authority. So the Combined Authority is quite a new entity. It's only sort of been around for 3 or 4 years. So our environment team, a lot of the projects we're doing are quite new. We have got a target of 4 million trees to be planted across the region in the next 15 years, which is quite ambitious. So that comes within our WM 2041 programme. There's quite a lot included in that, things like circular economy, retrofit, zero carbon homes, air quality, sustainable transport, all sort of fall vaguely within our remit. And tree planting forms part of this plan. And as I say, it's quite an ambitious target to see these trees planted across the region over the next 15 years. I mean, I don't think I need necessarily to convince you why this is a good thing. It'd be a little bit like preaching to the converted, but among the benefits obviously are flood risk mitigation, urban heat island, carbon sequestration, air quality improvements, as well as physical and mental health improvements as well. But with a lot of trees to be planted, we kind of really wanted to find a way of tracking it. And there's obviously a lot of people planting trees, ourselves being one of those organisations, but there are a multitude of them across the region. And really this is about trying to measure the success of how we're getting along against our targets, but also everybody else's targets in the local authorities and other organisations. So this is where the virtual forest comes in. And so I suppose, what is it, is the first question. So it was actually launched earlier this year. We had an initial website, which is the one that we've been working to improve over the summer. And it wasn't particularly good as a website. It was functional, but not too much more than that. But it was essentially trying to be a platform for recording and mapping all the tree activity that's going on across the region. And so what we've been working on over the summer is just a way to improve that, to make it a little bit more aesthetic, a little bit more functional and user-friendly. So that's sort of something we've been working on, and hopefully I'll be able to share that with you shortly. The area that's covered is shown here in this map. So it's the entire West Midlands Combined Authority area. So that is the 7 sort of core members, which would be Birmingham, Solihull, Coventry, Walsall, Dudley, Wolverhampton and Sandwell. But we've branched out a little bit into the sort of hinterland here. So you've got our non-constituent members, and you've got members who are involved in the Combined Authority through the local enterprise partnerships. So that is where you get this sort of wider map coming from sort of East Staffordshire down to Stratford-upon-Avon and Warwick and across to Shropshire. So that is quite a wide area to cover, and at the moment we're only really engaged with those 7 core members, and over the next sort of tree planting season we'll be trying to branch out into, no pun intended there, into the hinterland, into the wider region. The site wants to try and engage with everybody. So that is not only the sort of tree planting organisations, tree wardens, local authorities and things, but members of the public who may want to plant a tree in their garden, for example, and record that, or attend a public tree planting session, which may not be happening at the moment with COVID, but something that hopefully will in future. There's obviously community groups, clubs, parish councils who can apply for trees from the Woodland Trust, as can schools as well. And that's probably the only large gathering of people who are going to be allowed for the next few weeks as well. We want to engage with business additionally as well. So corporate responsibility days and opportunities for people to sponsor trees as a way of businesses offsetting their own carbon emissions. And finally, landowners. So especially in sort of more of the rural areas, it will be about trying to encourage landowners to consider either planting woodlands or reinstating hedgerows that might have been grubbed out in the post-war period. And signposting, I think, is the thing that we're trying to do mostly here. So we will, so for example, with landowners, we might point them to appropriate sources of funding. So the Woodland Trust, for example, but with businesses and others, we may well point them to other tree planting groups across the region. So it's just about trying to build that network up so we can send people the right way, and it'll hopefully sort of be a benefit to us and to people like yourselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing this page and share our website. So whilst I come out of that one, I will come into here. So can you see that one? Is that
can there, yeah.
You can? Yeah, lovely. So this is the new Virtual Forest website. I should caveat this with the fact that this is sort of quite a dynamic page, so it will change over time. We are officially launching it to stakeholders on Thursday, but after that we have to go through some user testing before it's publicly launched, so there may be some things that change, but in terms of the functionality of it, it should all be pretty much what it is now. And we're trying to make it sort of fairly visual and not too text heavy. So as I scroll down, it takes you to register your tree, which I'll go through with you shortly. It tells you how many trees have been planted. This number is fictitious, and we'll have an accurate number from what happened earlier this year when we transfer the data from the previous site. So that will be everything that happened from the 1st of January 2020, when it's sort of the official start date, and a few ways to get involved here. So I talked a little bit about how local residents, community groups, schools, businesses and landowners might want to get involved, so I won't go through all these pages now. What I really wanted to try and do was go through how you'd go about registering trees. And once this site is launched officially, what we want to encourage people to do is perhaps register some trees they planted earlier this year but haven't registered, so we can start building the number up. So we come to that map that I showed you earlier, and there are some steps here on the right hand side. So you find where you planted your tree. You could select whether you planted one or many trees, or in fact a hedge. You plot the location on the map, and then you complete the form, and you can add a picture as well. So what I was going to do is I was just going to run through this process just to give you an idea of how straightforward it should be. So I'm in Warwick, so I'm going to zoom in here, and this is what I tend to do. We'll come in. I tend to go and put some hedging in the middle of the racecourse, so we'll have a go at that. So you'll find your straight line tool. This is what the hedge one does, and you can start, and then you can continue and stop. If you double click it, there we go, that will record it. So you can just see a faint blue line there, which is the recording of a hedge. So here I'd say whether I was registering on behalf of myself or of an organisation. So I'm going to do it as an organisation. I'm going to do all of my details in here. Hedge type. So there will be some drop downs here, but with some options which are yet to be included in there. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to say that I planted this in January, 1st of January. There we are. Then you simply have to agree with the policies and would you like it to be shown on the map? And I think this is only in here primarily because people might not want their gardens to show up with the planted a tree there. So I don't mind it being shown. I can choose a file and then I can save it. And then that will appear on the map for all to see. And there it is. And I'll do it one more way, and I'll do this for an area of trees. So we'll zoom out, we'll go somewhere else this time, and we'll go into Shropshire, shall we? Come out here. So just picking somewhere at random. So this time I'll do an area of trees. So I double click on that. Oh, there we are. So there's a park in some trees near there. So I'll double click to start, and it's similar to the hedge, but it just makes you an area. Double click to finish, and we'll go through that again. So we'll do it as an organisation, and we'll go West Midlands Combined Authority. How many trees do you plant? You plant 200. And tree type. So there will be a list here. This is, I think, going to be updated ahead of the launch, but I'll put in various, and I'll do that in the last tree planting season as well. So there we go. Agree with the policy. Yes. And yes. And we're done. And it's as simple as that. And this will be updated quite regularly. Every 24 hours, you'll have a number that updates, and that will be shown on this page as our progress. So the our progress page is designed to essentially measure how we're doing. So when this loads up, you get an idea. So there's our grand total of trees that have been planted. I think that's updated every 12 hours when it refreshes. You can see how many individuals or organisations have been planting. This would be single trees, so people who planted an individual tree. This will be areas of trees like we've just done. And it also measures how much hedging we've done as well. So for every little bit you put on, it measures the distance and can record that as well. You'll have an indication here of the types of species which are being planted as well. And so for the trees planted by organisation, so Abby, who's developed the site with me, is a big fan of Disney. So for some reason, they've been the people who've planted most of the trees. But that will be able to show with different organisations on there, be that local authorities, ourselves, groups such as yourselves and others who have been planting trees, businesses as well, if they've come out and done some corporate responsibility. There will be a section here which will be for sort of latest news, and we won't necessarily writing that, but this will be links to other websites. So if you have a website that has got a news story on it, we can share that. Similarly, if you have any social media, this Twitter box here can follow several different accounts. So if you have any of those that are recording tree planting activity, then do let me know. And finally, we have our partners page, which I'm trying to sort of build up. And this is some of our stakeholders that are working with us. And your logo can go here. So any logos you want to send across to us, these, once you click on them, will link you off to their websites. And we're trying to do that to take you to their specific, if it's a local council, for example, to a specific environmental page. And the same goes for our logo at the top right as well. So that's sort of a very quick run through of the website. I say if you wanted to come into the site and just register a tree, you can just click on it straight down here. But if you remember the public or anything, you've got the links on the front page. So it should be fairly user-friendly and easy to do going forward. So I'm going to stop sharing that one. I'm going to come back to my slides. There we go. So I had a look at the site, and this is just about us, how it will work together. So I think the main point is that we want to try and connect people who want to plant trees with those with the space to plant them and the people who've got the trees to plant. I think they're sort of the key ingredients here, aren't they? So, but we want people to own this site, and it's not just ours. We are the administrators of it, but we don't own it. We want people to provide content. We want people to send us photos. It needs to be current. So we want you to engage with us on this, and any improvements and things you think we can make, do shout to us, do get in touch with us. Now, we haven't got this published at the moment because of the COVID restrictions and everything, but we will be in a position to have a calendar page which should have upcoming events, and you can RSVP to those, so you don't have 100 people turn up when you only need 10. But if you want us to publicise anything, then we will. And as I said, any suggestions or ideas for developing the page this year, but for ideas for projects for forthcoming tree planting seasons, we want to hear from you. So a little bit about how you can help, just to finish off. The site is going to be launched later in the autumn to the public, but it will go live very shortly. In fact, it will be this Thursday. And from then, you will be able to come along and retrospectively add any tree planting that you've done. So as I said earlier, the start date is the 1st of January. So anything you've done after then, which you haven't registered on the sort of previous incarnation of the site, then please come along and register it. We really, really need that data. In addition, you can join our stakeholders mailing list. Some of you, I think, may already be on there. And then we can keep you up to date with any forthcoming items of interests. And please also keep us up to date as well. And finally, do let us know what your planned activity is for the forthcoming tree planting season. So even if we can't publicise it, it'd be nice to have an idea of what is going on. There may be opportunities for sort of some press work around it. I know the mayor, for example, would like to come out and plant a tree at some point. And so if anyone would be happy to host him, or any of our other portfolio holders, then that would be fantastic as well. So do let us know. And I say, if you want to do that, my email address is at the bottom here, and you can get in touch with me via that, and I'll be really happy to hear from you. So that is my presentation on the virtual forest. Hopefully that's all fairly straightforward, that it's designed to be as user-friendly as possible. So I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.